Hey everybody, it's your girl Lena with another video. So if you are new, welcome. Hi. If you're someone who's already watched a video of mine and you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Like this video if you like it, and please share it with another young lady that you know it could be beneficial for, or even a grown woman. Doesn't matter, young girl, whoever you think, someone in your life that you know that this will benefit. So today's video is my testimony. Yeah, I felt like it was time to kind of share my testimony and just share a little bit about who I am and what God has done for me and what he's done for my life. So we're going to start with that today, okay? So before I begin, I just want to say that I want people, when they listen to my testimony, to not feel like, oh, poor girl, or oh my gosh, look what she went through, or oh my God, look at poor little victim, because I'm not a victim. I'm the culprit of my story. I am the villain of my story, okay? Like, things that happened in my life, yes, some things happened that I couldn't control, but the person I became, the person who I was, that was all on me. That was 100% me and my decisions and my choice. And maybe I didn't have knowledge at the time. Maybe it was a lack of knowledge. Whatever the case may be, at the same time, this brain right here, this heart right here, definitely led me into a lot of my decisions. And so I always like to share my testimony and say that God saved a villain. He saved the culprit, and made me into this righteous person, this loving person, this new creation, okay? He didn't go and save a little victim on a road and make her know. Yes, I was broken and all this stuff, but I wasn't no victim, okay? I left that victim mentality behind a long time ago. Okay, so welcome to the story of my villain past, if that makes sense. All right, so it's kind of hard with your testimony where to start, but I'll start from, let's say, growing up. So I kind of have that cliche growing up experience where didn't have father in the home, didn't have both parents in the home, raised by a single mother who had to work and work and work just to provide for us and take care of us and, all those things. And so I didn't get as much attention and love and all that stuff that was, needed growing up. So I grew up in a home that only had one parent. And so, the loss of your father in the household can do a lot to you. And I'll talk about that in a later video about fatherlessness. Okay, I won't get into too much detail about that. Just know that, those who go through fatherlessness can grow up with a lot of more disadvantages in life and a lot more issues that can kind of surface as they get older. Especially it starts to surface around their teenage years and then young adult years. If you don't address those situations, then they just become poof. It just explode. And me, I was someone that didn't address those situations, just because in the community that I grew up in, it was normal, like dads aren't there, so like you just kind of grow up in that and kind of dysfunction becomes normal for you. Okay. I've also experienced a lot of things when I was younger, just going to the wrong people's houses and, being there during sleepovers or whatever the situation may be. A lot of sexual molestation and a lot of exposure to things that, like, why were you ever exposed to this? I probably shouldn't have been exposed to that when I was younger, but it happened. And so I kind of carried some of that with me as I grew up. So I grew up with this mentality where I felt like because of the fatherlessness in my life, because of some of the things that I was exposed to at a young age, and some things I never told my mom until I got older. because of the shame and the guilt that you carry with it. And also, I've always been someone who's been a protector of people's stories. And so I protected the stories of those who were involved in the situation. And also, it's kind of embarrassing. It's embarrassing to kind of talk about it, especially the situations that have happened in my life. And so I just, you just kind of bottle it all in. I don't know who knows what I'm talking about, but you bottle everything in. And so going through some of those things, going through that rejection, going through, even the lack of attention all the time, because the responsibilities that were placed on the household because it was a single parent house. Because of those things, I grew up with a lot of feelings of rejection, feeling of I'm not good enough, or who will want me, who will want to be in Kalina's life, who would actually want to stay in Kalina's life and be around her. And it definitely, those mindsets trickled into my adulthood, and the things that happened to me young, it opened up the door to lust and, different things like that as well. And it also, being exposed to certain things and certain environments, you become like your environment. It was a lot of other things that happened in my life, but it's too long to go into. So I would just say a lot of things happened in my life where, and I don't really want to focus on what happened to me, because those things, yes, they happened to me, and those things, are a reference of, why I became who I was and things like that. But I don't want to focus so much on that, because I want to talk about who I was and where I had went to, and became, and where God had to bring me from. Okay, so yes, there's a lot of things that I experienced in my childhood that caused me to grow up feeling rejected, making me feel like I wasn't good enough, made me feel like I was just a burden, made me feel like I was ugly, even if I was beautiful on the outside, I felt like I was ugly. I felt like I was disgusting. Like, who would want me? I felt all these things, and as a person that grew up, and even when I started to get to high school, I didn't want to be alive. I didn't want, I went through so much pain in my life that I just, I didn't want to be alive a lot of the time. In high school, I went through a lot, and a lot of people didn't know it, because on the outside, I was someone who was smiling all the time, or someone who, actually, I don't know if I used to smile in high school. Somebody had to tell me if I used to smile in high school. Honestly, high school went by so fast that I don't remember who I was, honestly, in high school. I know I wasn't great, but whatever I was. High school was where a lot of the issues from when I was a childhood started to surface. So that feeling of wanting to be loved by a man, that feeling that wanting to, tap into that feeling of lust and all those things, that all started to surface. Even though I was this little girl who once was like, I ain't never do anything till I'm married. I'm about to do this, I'm about to do that, 'cause I had a little bit of God in me. But it wasn't there enough that it made it prevalent in my life, if that makes sense. And it's so easy when you don't know who you are, when you have low self-esteem, when you have low self-worth, to be influenced by people around you, always wanting to fit in, always want to be the cool person. I felt well, I gotta do this, or I gotta be this way, or I'm not cool, or, even with my first real relationship, a guy I dated for the whole entirety of my high school years, the main reason why I even allowed our relationship to go into an intimate relationship is simply because of the fact that I thought that I had to do that for him to love me. Like I had to give my body, me giving my body was me being loved or him loving me, even though like to be honest, I never truly felt in that place to want to give it or do it. I just I wanted love, I wanted appreciation. And I wanted someone to, you know, give me the attention that I had been craving for so long in my life. And in high school is where I started to pick up self-harm. I started to become suicidal. I started to overcompensate in my achievements to make myself feel like I was an acceptable person to be accepted, getting good grades. I mean, I was an IB student, I was smart, I was, an athlete, all these things on the outside. And I was trying to use these accomplishments to make myself feel better about myself. And also because I wanted people to accept me, So even though I do love track, I did love, getting good. I gotta love those things. But at the same time, like if I messed up or I didn't do it the right way, like I took it out on myself in a very strong way. And if I didn't have it, I felt like a failure. My identity was rooted in my accomplishments. My identity was rooted in who I was dating, what I was doing, how my grades were, or what group I was a part of. That was my identity. And as many of us know, is that those things are not stable foundations for your identity. Your identity cannot come from this world. It cannot come from things that are on the outside. Okay, it cannot come from that. All right, and so I kind of started. That started to become the foundation of who I was. Shoot up to college years, it got worse because I didn't deal with it. I mean, I slowed down on my, self-harm attempts. I probably did like once or twice once I got into college, and a little bit after that, maybe once or twice. But it wasn't how it was when I was in high school. High school, I really, I mean, if you can think of the suicide attempt, I tried to do it. And it's not something I talked about. I didn't want to talk about it. It was something that I wanted to hide from the world. I know there was a few occasions where people who were really, 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 really close to me, who have seen it. They have seen me, in those moments. But for the most part, I tried to hide it. I mean, I was that kid that would wear long sleeves. I would, do things to try to hide those marks on my body. But yeah, I was hurting myself. And it was like some points in my life, I committed self-harm, not because of the fact that I wanted to actually die, but it was like how I dealt with the pain. Like anytime I went through something, like anytime someone else could do something to me, and it has nothing to do with me. It's not my fault, whatever. And I would take it out on myself. I took out so many things on myself. Like if the guy cheated on me, it was my fault. Like I'm see, there it goes again. You're not wanted. You're not good enough. You're not beautiful. Look, this guy doesn't even want to be faithful to you. Like who is he gonna? Why does he want you? And that thing of rejection surface for me, or it could just be like, I don't know, like certain things would happen. Maybe a friend would, talk about me, or something would happen, or maybe I would do something and I felt shame, and I would do it because it made me feel like a place of release, and I wasn't harming anyone else. I was just harming myself. When in reality, if you think about it, because of those behaviors, I did eventually start to harm other people around me because I wasn't giving off my best self. I wasn't giving off the best version of me that I can be, And then also when it did get as deep to suicidal attempts, it was simply because of the fact that maybe the pressure got too hard or the pain got too heavy to deal with. And so I wanted to not be here anymore. I didn't want to live. and for some reason, like every time, I feel like that's how I know like someone was praying for me. You know how we always say like it was a mom or it was a grandma or someone who was praying for us. It's because like something what happened and it never would work. The pills never worked. I never had access to like, thank God though, like to a gun or anything. The knife I would try and it just wouldn't do much. I mean, the worst thing I did was probably jump off the roof once. No, I did was hurt myself. I was so mad. But like I jumped out of it and it was like, God save me in those moments. And I know I'm laughing about this stuff now, but it is kind of it's crazy, when I think about it and who I used to be, and so those moments I feel like God was washing out for me, because it was heavy. Like I was ready to be done, with my life, and I was ready to just be out of here, but something always like would stop that from happening. And then also something heavy on my heart would show up and say like, you're being very selfish. What about your mom? What about your brother? What about your family? What about like, and it would stop me. And I would just cry out and be like, man, I can't do that to them. I can't hurt them, and as much as I might not love myself, as much as I might not like my life or whatever, and because and doesn't mean my life was just terrible, because of how my mind was, because of my inability to look outside of myself, it just seemed like gloom and bad news. Like it just, like life was just not, it was just a cloudy storm that wasn't going to get better, even though that wasn't probably truly the case. Okay. But this is where my mindset was. Okay. And so as I got into college years, I started to try to, run from these things. I tried to run from my mental health issues, my depression, my rejection feelings, like all these demons that were in my life, like I tried to run from it by coping with it, continuing to get good grades, continuing to try to be an athlete, continuing to try to be this, person involved in things and things like that. But then it started to get really heavy for me. And it's like you get to this point where you can't fake it no more. You can't fake it. You can't fake like everything's okay. And so I would escape. And maybe like sophomore year, I started smoking marijuana. I would smoke like I was a smoker, pothead. Anybody who know me in the college was like, yes, I was a pothead. And I was so disrespectful. Like I would go to class smelling like it, just different things. Like I didn't care. I stopped caring about school as much. I stopped caring about track as much. I stopped caring about life in general. All I wanted to do was be with my boyfriend at the time and smoke. And that's it. Like that's all I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was feel loved by him. All I wanted to do was escape and be high. I was living in this like crazy fantasy land. Okay. And then, because I never really was promiscuous in the sense of like, I would sleep around, but I would be in these relationships with these men and I would get the satisfaction of my lust out of these relationships, and I would just give my all to these relationships, like everything to them, to the point that it broke me so many times. Like, they could cheat on me, they could lie to me, they could do so much, and I would just forgive and accept it to the point like I just became this woman I did not recognize anymore. I no longer did track and field. I barely graduated from college because of my grades. I was barely invested in anything anymore. It was almost sad, and I think I was just hanging on by a string, like it was very, very intense. And I think things started to happen in my life where I got my car repossessed. I mean, I left work My car was gone. I was mad, embarrassed. Like, yo, my car is gone. Where my car at? I was so upset. So I experienced homelessness. I started to be super, super, super depressed. And like, only thing I cared about, like, everything could be going wrong as long as I had my blunt. Like, as long as I had my blunt, I was okay. Okay. And so I went through a lot. I joined a sorority during college years too, to kind of try to fit in and try to find purpose and my identity somewhere. And even after joining that, like, I feel like I went further into like the Jezebel spirit. I felt like I went further into like, you know, being all about my outward appearance, being about, you know, superficial things and not, you know, true, real things. I lost a good relationship. Relationships are give and take because of the fact that I started to put the organization before them. I did so many things. And, you know, as I learned later on as a Christian, is that, I took a pledge to a false God and, you know, different things like that. And that's a whole nother story that I'll talk about in a different video or something one day, maybe. But so in all, God brought me to this place where I was just down and out. You know, I was depressed. I was emotionally abused, verbally abused. I was just in this place of addiction, just addicted to, you know, the wrong things, especially the drug marijuana and just different things like that, and addicted to this guy who was not good for me at all, and I wasn't good for him either, but he really wasn't good for me, and he knows it. And it was really eventful for me. And so I got to a place where I became the worst version of myself. Someone who was very angry, someone who was very easily offended. I just had low self-esteem. I had low self-worth. I wasn't happy. You know, all I could do, I was high 24/7, unless I was asleep. And I probably was high when I was asleep because the marijuana was still in my system. But, you know, like I was, I'm laughing because I was gone, okay? Gone. So to kind of shorten up my testimony and kind of talk about and just kind of lay it out there, the things that I've experienced and the things that I've been through. I've suffered depression. I've had emotional abuse in my life. I've been manipulated. I've also been a manipulator. I've been a manipulative person in my life before. I've had addictions. I've had rejection issues. I've had self-harm. I've low self-esteem, low self-worth. I've dated young when I shouldn't have dated, and I'll make a video about that later, about how, as you know, young women, we shouldn't date young. Okay. I've sex outside of marriage, fornication. I've had lust issues. And I've also had idolatry in my life, idolizing things that I shouldn't have been idolizing, putting things before God. I've also had just attraction to New Age and witchcraft, astrology, all those different things. I've also hurt people because of my own hurt. I made excuses like, well, this is who I am because I've been through A plus B and C, or I've been through A, B, and C. No. You know, you can't treat people wrong just because of something you went through or you experienced in your life. And I thought the world owed me. Like, nobody owed me anything. But, you know, growing up young, I thought the world owed me. Like, well, you owe me for whatever reason. No. Okay. And I was a liar. And I was lied to. But yeah, I definitely was a liar, you know. I joined different organizations and religions to gain purpose and identity and fulfillment. I was a teenage thief. a young thief, and I mean, like, I would always try to make myself feel better because I was like, oh, I don't steal from people, but I would steal from stores. Like I was that, person who had the, got the new shoes and all that stuff out the store. I had a bad mouth. I was always cussing. I had a lot of anger and wrath and bitterness inside of me, just that offended heart, that nasty heart, that dark heart. I had jealousy and envy at times growing up. I had pride, being very prideful at certain times. I had greed, not necessarily like greedy, like I didn't, but like just, or the love of money, but like just always wanting more and more, never content in what I had. I was never humble. Like I just had this thing where I was like, oh, I need this, I need more, I need more. I've cursed God in my life. I've denied him in my life. And to me, that was the biggest thing to me, that hurt me. I thought it was selfishness, been a selfish person, thinking I was probably protecting myself or whatever reason I had in my mind. Sometimes when we think we're protecting ourselves, or sometimes we're acting in certain ways because of things that we've experienced, it can be selfish. And, God didn't create us to be selfish like that. I had disobedience to parents, dishonoring my mother, dishonoring my father, doing wrong to them and, not really being obedient to them in, all the time that I needed to be. I also was someone who did dabble in a little bit of like, well, I kind of say like I've watched pornography. I've seen pornography. I never got addicted to it, but I did, I've had a moment in my life where it was like, I watched it and I was engaged in it and different things like that. I masturbated to it. I had masturbation issues and different things like that. But it never was I just couldn't do it all the way. Like it didn't stick around in my life. I was like, that was something that really wasn't hard for me to break from, if that makes sense. I have covetousness. I've had cohabitating, living with a guy before you're married. Like, why are you doing that? Don't do it. Listen, don't do it. Okay. I was, out here living a lifestyle where I wasn't straying away even after I got saved. Or maybe not even necessarily saved, but even after, like coming to, like learning more about God and learning about Christ, I still was doing things that didn't, I didn't stray away from the appearance of evil. I was still doing things that appeared evil unto man. I didn't dress modestly at a point in my life. I was all about my outer appearance. Of course, remember, I didn't believe that I was beautiful. I didn't believe that I was, I didn't have a lot of worth. I thought that that intimacy and love meant giving yourself to a man, or, the approval of men, is what I sought for a big chunk of my life. And so I would dress in a certain way that was not modest. And that showed where I thought my beauty and my value came from. Okay. I had times in my life where I was very ungrateful. I was a complainer, refusing correction. Like, I'm pretty sure any of my track coaches and my mother would be like, yeah, she was hard to correct. She would not listen. It's so true. I was definitely very hard-headed. I had a very hard head. And I was also, I had unforgiveness, in my heart as well. And I was always leading my own path. Like I always just felt like I had to be the captain, or I had to be in control. And it's so funny because I used to recite something like that when I joined a sorority, or is that I'm the captain of my soul, and I'm not the captain of my soul. God is the captain of my soul. Always remember that God is your captain. God is your leader. God is your head. When you lead yourself, the Bible tells you, when you lead yourself to destruction. And so I think I got to the point where I started to realize that I needed something. Like I needed something more for my identity. I needed something more for myself. And so that's when I started to dabble into like looking into different religions. I mean, I remember thinking about, oh, let me go do yoga. Let me look into the new age movement stuff. And I started to tap into like astral projection and, the chakras and all that fun, all that crazy stuff. And, trying to find ways to still be a pothead and still be like, oh, I'm talking to the spirit guides and like all that stuff, trying to do all that. But I wouldn't go so deep that I would go into the area of witchcraft, even though I was still performing witchcraft. But, I didn't want to go into like the dark stuff because I'm like, man, I know there's still a God out there, so I'm not going to just automatically just go straight into knowingly serving the devil, even though I was still serving the devil and didn't know I was serving the devil. And so I started to get into that stuff and like the opening your third eye and all that crazy stuff. That, thank God I didn't go too far with that. God saved me from that. And I turned away from that. And then it was like, okay, maybe I can be Muslim. Maybe this, because everybody around me is like going Muslim and everybody else. So it's like, okay, let me pick up this Quran. Let me see what this Quran is about. And I still didn't have any transformation there. And then I also knew deep down in my heart that Jesus was more than just a prophet to me, and so, there was things that I feel like, again, going back to that, there's somebody praying for you, that were trying to keep me, going on the right path, in my prayer during that time period, I did pray, and it was, God, I want to find truth. I want to find who you are. I want to find my true identity, and so I went through, and then I had the Hebrew Israelites. I had this guy who I used to study with. He was like this little kid. He was kind of cool, but he would be so angry about white people, and I'm just like, yo, I don't hate white people. Like, they are not the devil. Like, I know, like, yeah, they have done wrong things. They have done things, but we did wrong. I've done bad things too. I'm like, it's an issue of sin. I don't think God would just create these group of people to just be the devil, like, I'm like, no, not that there aren't children of the devil, but I'm just like, just because somebody's white doesn't mean they're a devil, like, I was also someone who grew up around, white people and stuff. Like, I've never had that mentality, or that, discrimination and all that stuff in me, or prejudice. And like, I just didn't, feel that way. So I was just like, nah. Like, and it just felt like a lot of anger was in him, and it was a lot of anger there. And it was just like so much information, but no spirit, nothing, no spirit there. It was like, okay, I'm great. I can study a book and get the same information from here. Like, or I can study a book and get information. I don't want more information. I want something that's truly going to be transforming in my life. And so I kind of went away from that. And so something was like, just pick up the Bible, start reading the Bible. So I slowly started to read the Bible, and, I was like reading it, but not truly understanding it. And I was just like, okay, God this, God that, but it wasn't really taking root in me yet. And so I ended up meeting a guy ended up reaching out to me on social media, and his name was Moses. I know, hopefully he's okay with me telling his name in this video, but he was like, sis, what's up? How are you? Let's talk about God. And do you know who God is? Do you know the Bible? Do you know this pastor? Do you know the truth about hip hop? Do you know the truth about this and that and that and that? What you're involved in and what you're doing, it's wrong. It's this, like, you need to get out of that. Any other person probably would have been like, who is you to call me and tell me what I'm doing and this wrong? And I was just like, God had me in this place where I was just ready. I was ready to receive anything. I was ready to receive his word. I was ready to receive. I was like, I'm like, really? Oh, okay. And so I started to go into my Bible a little deeper. I started to, focus on, trying to truly understand God's word, and then truly apply it to my life. I started to get introduced to pastors, and like the truth behind hip hop. I got introduced to that. That helped. I started to do my own research, the truth about the world. I started to become, awoke, they may say, to things that were going on in society. And I was just like, oh Lord, this world is evil. Like, let's get out of this. I'm like, what? Okay, it's a lot of evil going on. It's a lot of evil going on in this world, but where's the escape? Like, how do you get out of it? Like, everybody's corrupt. Hollywood's corrupt. The politicians is corrupt. Like, everything's corrupt. Like, my food's corrupt. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how do I get out of this? What am I supposed to do with all this information now? And I just started, the Bible is so amazing because it was like everything in the Bible was like, it came to pass. It was happening. It was like, man, this is like factual. Like, this is true. Like, I can't even argue with the Bible because it's like, it's true. Like, I can't say, oh, well, no. Like, it's proven, this happened. This is going to happen. This is because of, the actions that you committed as a person, because you were out here doing this and doing this and doing this, like, death came. And I was like, man, it's not like I actually died, but it was a death. Like, I was walking around dead. And the Bible spoke to that. It was like, you were walking around here dead, spiritually dead. And I just started to fall in love with God more and more and more every single day. And I tell you guys, I came to Christ. I was still smoking. I was still in a relationship. I tried to stop fornicating. I ended up fornicating one more time, got pregnant. I stopped smoking then when I got pregnant. So honestly, it was a blessing because it kept me, it kept me from returning back to Mary Jane when I was pregnant. And I think it had to happen because it was like, I was one of those people that say like, oh, I can stop when I want to stop. But I couldn't stop truly until God intervened and allowed, he's like, well, Kalina, you got a track record of not caring about yourself. So let me give you a baby. And at least you'll care about the baby more than yourself. And I was like, I'm never going to hurt my baby. Like, I'm never going to be so selfish to keep something that it will harm my baby. And I was so grateful for it, and also scared, to be a mother. And sad because I was repeating the generational curse in my life, because now I had knew about generational curses and things like that. And I wanted to be in a relationship and be married with my child's father. We just he didn't want that. And so it was scary. It was hard. I went through it alone in many ways. And so but I needed it. It's like God brought me to that place because it started to help me open my eyes up to like the truth around me, what truly was going on, who I truly was, and everything that was, in my life and happening in my life, how the devil was in my life, how demons were in my life, how I was, just the villain of my story, and so it just helped me in that moment to go through a transformation process where God was just destroying old belief systems in me. He was destroying old habits in me and was just transforming me into this new person, this better person, that slowly started to become happy again, who slowly started to take her identity out of the world and put her identity in God and the foundation of the Word of God. And it was just like, I can't even explain it. It was amazing. And very transforming. And it's a peace that God gives you that you never, ever, ever have experienced in your life, and it's the reason why I can look back at my life now and I can smile and I can be, who I am, because it's just like, man, like, yep, that was me. Yep, that's what I went through. But man, oh man, guess what God did for my life, and guess where he brought me. And so the reason I want to share my testimony to you guys is the fact that I want you guys to know that, like, I was a villain, I was broken, I was messed up. The girl you see on the screen, here and there every day, like, even probably the person you've seen in high school, that person was broken, that person was lost, that person had a lot of low self-esteem, a lot of low self-worth. That person was just a face, and I truly didn't become not a face, and truly now just who I am, until God did that for me. The reason why I can keep going, I still go through stuff. I still have things happen in my life. I still, sin and do things and become a villain here and there. But at the end of the day, like, God is where my true source of energy, my true source of identity, everything comes from. I lean on him. And my conviction now is so strong that I'll be like, I don't even want to sin, because I don't want to experience the conviction that comes with it, And if you're Christian, you know about that conviction. That conviction is intense. I'll be praying, God, keep that conviction, because that's when I know I'm on the right path. That's no way I know where I'm going is the right way. And so, yeah, and then the fear of the Lord, I fear God, and so it's like that also keeps me rooted in my relationship with God. And also, it wasn't even just about reading the Bible, and it wasn't just about, doing certain things. Like, just because now I'm like doing things that I wasn't doing when I was young, because I'm not out here, sinning the same that I was before. It's like, that isn't the factor. What it is the fact that I have a relationship with God. Like, I truly know God, and he truly knows me, and I built a relationship up with Christ, so that he can truly lead me, truly know, and truly help me and be there with me, and I could truly love him and serve him. Like, I love God, like, I love God. I don't care if I look good to the world, like, do I look good to God? Does God accept me? Is God happy with me? Is he okay with who I am? Because that's all that matters to me, is, loving him correctly, because he shed his mercy and grace for me so many times, and I didn't even deserve it. How many times I look back in my life and I'm like, God saved me from so many situations. Yeah, there are some things that I went through. There are some things that I'm experiencing now. But it's like, man, it could have been 10 times worse. And I probably wouldn't even be the woman that I am right now. Or I'd probably be somewhere dead. Or whatever the case may be, if it wasn't for him. If it wasn't for his love. If it wasn't for his mercy and his grace. And so I just want to, share this testimony, because I want people to know, like, don't feel bad for me. Don't feel sorry for me. Don't even be, whatever the thing is, don't even think about me. The point of sharing this testimony is because I want to show you guys that God is truly amazing. He is truly wonderful, and he can do so much for your life. If you're at a place in your life where you are feeling broken, you're feeling lost, you're feeling destroyed, you're feeling empty, you're clinging to that blunt, you're clinging to that alcohol bottle, you're clinging to those drugs, whether it's opiates or even hardcore drugs. If you're clinging to relationships and you're not getting out of these cycles of these terrible relationships, or maybe you have anger and sadness in your heart, or maybe you're battling suicide, maybe you're battling self-harm, whatever the situation may be, God can save you. God can heal you. God can transform your life. God can do so much for you. He can bring about that peace that you're looking for. He can bring back that identity, that sense of identity that you are looking for. And if you just give him a chance, If you pray to him, if you pick up that Bible and you start to read, you start to build a relationship with him, you start to surround yourself with people who are truly after God in their heart. Now be careful, because there is a lot of false prophets out there. There are a lot of people who call themselves Christian and they are not Christian. And so it's really, really, really important. Even pastors, okay? So many people out here like, oh, I'm Christian, I'm Christian, I'm Christian. Guess what? I was one of those people who, when I was young, who said I was Christian, but I was still out here fornicating. I was still out here lying. I was still out here doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. I wasn't Christian. I just wanted to have the identity of Christian. And so it's really important that you also pray the same prayer. It may take some time, I don't know how long, but pray like, God, show me your truth. Give me your truth, Lord. Lead me, Father God, to counsel that is wise, that is truthful. And if I can help you a little bit, there are some pastors out there that I know who are truthful and who can really be beneficial to you. Paul Washer, check him out. Vadi Bachman, check him out. Charles Spurgeon, check him out. Like, check out these pastors on YouTube if you can, and look it up. For women, start off biblical womanhood. Look it up. It's you'll get a lot of conviction with Vadi Bachman. The world, the flesh, and also the devil, the temptation of it. Look these videos up. If you ever want some sermons or some pastors or whatever, feel free to reach out to me and I will try to do my best to help you. Okay, stay away from that prosperity teaching. Stay away from that false teaching out there that God's a genie, or if you confess with your mouth that God is the Lord or Jesus Christ, I believe in him. No, it is way deeper than that. It's way more to it than that. Okay. Stay away from the mega church. Stay away from all that just, God is always happy and beautiful all the time. Yes, God is peaceful. Yes, God is makes you happy. But sometimes God will convict you. Sometimes God will tell you, just like your father or your mother will tell you, you are messing up. You're not right. You're not doing something right. And that stuff will hurt you. It will hurt you. It didn't feel good when your mama whooped you or your daddy whooped you or beat you. It didn't feel good when they yelled at you. Sometimes it don't feel good when you get beat up. It don't feel good. And sometimes the word will beat you up. Sometimes life will beat you up. God's truth will beat you up. And so it's like, it's definitely a hard road to go on. But if you have the right people in your circle, if you truly have a heart that's dedicated and wants to surrender to God, and you are ready to lay down your beliefs, lay down what you believe and what you think about, like, man, God will do so much in your life. If you have a pure heart that is ready to lean on him, a pure heart that is ready to hear him and see him, God will do it. He will do it. You may look at your life and say, it's impossible to change me. You probably someone maybe you do serve the devil. Maybe you are a witch. Maybe you do things and you feel like you just all the way in the dark side. Maybe you murdered someone. Maybe you did something worse. Maybe you're the pedophile. Maybe you're the person who's molesting people. Maybe you're the person who is doing things wrong. And you're like, nah, God can't save me. No, he can. He can. He can save you. He can help you. What's impossible to us is always possible to God. His understanding and what he can do is far beyond what we think we can do. Far beyond. Okay? You are never too damaged. You are never too broken to be saved. You are never too damaged to be broken, to have God work in your life. Okay? God can do so much from you. No, my story probably isn't, maybe as worse as yours. Maybe I wasn't a villain. I was a villain. I've done every sin in the book. Almost. Not everyone, but I've done a lot of them. you know? And so I just want you to have faith and believe that, yes, you probably can't do it. Yes, you probably can't change. Maybe you don't understand that Bible like I was when I was first reading. I was like, man, KJV, I don't know. This sounds like Shakespeare. Like maybe you don't. But, if you keep praying, you keep at it, you keep going, like it will happen. And stay committed to it. Stay dedicated to it. And just watch God work, man. That faith has to be there. So have faith there. Have a prayer life there. And just be careful. You might have to go through a season where you lose friends, you lose people in your life that were once there. Maybe your best friend that you grew up with since first grade. You might have to lose them for a time period in your life because God needs you alone. He needs to work on you. I was alone for, I think, 2.5 to 3 years because God needed to work on me. And actually, I'm now in a season again where I'm alone because I backslid. And God is like, I need to work on you again. Okay? So it's a life journey. It's not like, oh, I got saved and now I'm like this perfect human being again. No. No, I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still getting those beatings. I'm still trying to be hard-headed sometimes. Like, I'm still enticed by temptation, my flesh. I'm still weak, And so it's like, it's a ever going journey, okay? But it's so much easier now for me to go through things. It's so much easier for me to face things because I just know that God is faithful and that God is going to get me through it. I just know that everything that He has for me and plans for me will be for my good, will be for the best of me. Okay? And so I just encourage you guys today to pick up your Bible, pray, reach out to me, reach out to someone who can help you in your journey to Christ. Even if you consider yourself a Christian, always, 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 always analyze and evaluate yourself. Am I truly a Christian? I do that daily. Am I truly a Christian? Am I seeking self-gain and attention? Am I seeking to be the center of the platform here, even in my YouTube channel? Lord, am I seeking people to look at me, 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 me? God, am I truly repentive of the things that I do in my life? I have this daily ask God and ask myself, like, are you truly living this life of righteousness? Do you truly have a repentant and pure heart? And if it ever comes up that no, you don't, then I got to go to God and I have to go back into where I need to go to perform that surgery, or have God perform that surgery on me so that I can get in that right place. Okay? To get back where I need to be. And so, again, this will not be an overnight thing. This will not be something that just happens. And it's going to be a hard road, but I encourage you on it. And if you ever need someone to encourage you or pray for you, I am here for you. I love you guys. God loves you. You're truly, truly going to enjoy the journey with God. You really are. So I want you all to take care, to take out that Bible right now, or get down on those knees and just go to work. Go to work. Go and do it. Okay? I promise you won't be disappointed. All right. Well, you might be disappointed with some of the stuff you go through and learn about yourself, but you won't be disappointed once you get over that hump and go through that breaking down process, and you realize, like, man, I really did need God. I really did need Jesus in my life. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share it if you know that it could be beneficial to another young lady or a person in your life that you know. So I love you guys. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And I love you. Take care. God loves you. Bye.